What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another episode of Player Ratings as Spurs got embarrassed last night at Old Trafford 2-0 against a very good Manchester United side. And let's get straight into it. And let's start off with our man of the match for Tottenham, and that was Hugo Lloris. 9s all round from us. And he made about 4 or 5 brilliant saves in the first half. Second half followed up with 2 or 3 really amazing saves. Second half, Rashford had some really clear chances to score, and Lloris stood up to the challenge. One from Bruno Fernandes's free kick as well, which was really good. And in the first half, there were countless amount of saves. I mean, the one notably from Luke Shaw, which that volley in the first half, but unbelievable display from Hugo Lloris. I thought his distribution was a bit better as well. And one slight error when he could have had an easy catch and it went out for a corner, but that doesn't take away from his amazing performance yesterday.
Yeah, 10 saves in total. He really kept the score down. I thought amount of times he had to make saves with his fingertips as well, making sure that those weren't going in the back of the net was astonishing. I thought he was at his very best. Couldn't really do anything with the goals either. So an astonishing performance from Hugo. And the only reason we're talking about a 2-0 defeat and not a 5-0 or 6-0 defeat is because of how good he played. And these were not routine saves. These were brilliant one-handed saves, a lot of them. So fantastic stuff from him, but he was the only one who kind of came up with any credit.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can breeze past the rest of the players, but let's go on to Eric Dier. 3s all round from us, and I thought he was dreadful. He really was, chasing shadows for the majority of the game. Countless amount of mistakes. Distribution was terrible. I mean, I can't think of anything good that Eric Dier pretty much did yesterday. I thought the defence as a whole was absolutely terrible, and he was supposed to be the one leading the line there. So absolutely tragic display, and I thought Rashford gave him a very torrid time.
Yeah, Rashford was getting in behind him time and time again, and I think it just goes to show his lack of a time on the ball, where this game, compared to other games, he only attempted 3 long balls, compared to, I think the last game was Everton, it was over 10. So they were really restricting him, making sure he wasn't able to play out the back, wasn't able to find the front 3 or the midfield players in the central areas, all of the wide players out wide. And yeah, defensively he just was getting pulled apart, and there was a lack of compactness with our defensive side of the game yesterday. So Dier for sure, poor performance.
Let's move on to Cootie Romero. Sim gives him a 4. I give him a 3, and I actually think this is his worst display in a Spurs shirt. Cootie Romero, after the good work he's done over the past couple of weeks, coming back into form. This was a step backwards yesterday from Cootie Romero. I thought. Look, he did do some good work in terms of his really aggressive challenges and winning the ball back off Manchester United, but defensively on a whole, I thought he was dreadful, giving the ball away time and time again, especially in that first half. How many times did he have the ball and you're like, all right, dink it into the top, play a good pass into the midfield, but it went back to Manchester United every single time. A lot of clumsy challenges in there as well, and he was given the runaround for the majority of the game.
Yeah, wasn't great from Romero yesterday. Definitely too many fouls in bad areas as well, which allowed Man United too many set piece situations. I actually thought out of the 3 in the back, he was probably the one taking a bit more risk with his passing, actually trying to get the ball forward rather than keeping it safe. And a few times he was able to get some joy, but unfortunately the players weren't able to keep possession. And then once he stopped getting joy, it became very sloppy and it was giving it away, and then all of a sudden it wasn't on point. I felt like defensively, I think in behind he was okay. In front of him though, I think Sancho didn't get as much joy as maybe Anthony and Rashford were getting on the other side. But I think he could have done a lot better up against Rashford, helping out Dier. But I still think Sancho was a bit quiet. But definitely it wasn't a great display from him overall.
Yeah, and I felt like he kept, this happened to a lot of our players, but I felt like he kept misjudging the flight of the ball, and it kept bouncing over him, which was really strange. But anyway, let's move on. Let's go to Ben Davies, the last of the back 3. 4s all round from us. For me, he was probably our strongest defender on the night, but still was pretty poor, not going to lie. I mean, what can I say? I thought he wasn't aggressive enough, letting the ball get past him way too many times. There were a few good moments in there, but like Christian Romero, I just felt like the ball was bouncing over him, poor touches, poor passing, just poor in general.
Yeah, I think it was too reactionary. He wasn't proactive enough in his defending, and he kept getting asked too many questions and wasn't able to get close to the opposition. There was a time where the ball comes in the box, too much hesitancy. He wasn't sure if it was going to go to Hugo. He ends up leaving it, and another defender had to clear it, and it was a very dangerous ball into the box. And there were too many moments like that where it didn't take authority in the game. And off the back of some impressive displays, it's a shame he put in a poor on this one, but it wasn't a good one from Davis, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's move on to Matt Doherty. Fours all round from us. And in the early stages of the game, he was actually getting up the pitch well, getting in some good positions without doing too much. But apart from that, he was pretty much anonymous for the rest of the game. Defensively, I thought most of their attacks did come down the other side, but all in all, I don't think it was good enough from Doherty yesterday, and you want to see him take a bit more authority on the game. Yeah,
he gets into good positions to either whip in a cross or maybe drill a low ball into the box. Wasn't able to do it. Didn't, especially getting in those wide areas a few times where Harry Kane was finding him, but wasn't able to make it count at all, and that was very, very disappointing. I thought defensively it was all right. Sancho was fairly quiet throughout the game, to be fair. But going forward, I think he got into the box once in the first half, had a shot with his left foot, which went well wide. And other than that, didn't really test Man United's defence enough. I think in general play, when it comes to link up, still better than Emerson, and there were some nice touches, but still not enough.
Let's move on to Ivan Perisic on the left-hand side. Fours all round from us. And in the early stages of the game, he was, like Doherty, was finding himself in really good positions, actually, with the ball to get the ball into the box. I mean, it was hard for him because not enough players were committing themselves to get in the box for him to find. He was trying to get a few shots off at times, but the quality wasn't really there. He got absolutely destroyed by Antony, especially in the first half, and he found it really hard to deal with him every time Antony, even was going outside or going inside. He didn't really know how to deal with him, and it was a poor displaying from Perisich defensively, and you expect more from him going forward as well.
Yeah, and he found some really good positions going forward, and you expect either good delivery or at least get the delivery in, and he just wasn't able to do it. He was able to get a few more crosses in the second half, but first half, the crosses weren't able, especially when he was one-on-one with Dalot, which happened 2 or 3 times in space. We just didn't make it count, and that's very disappointing when that's his main strength. And as you say, defensively, he was a liability. But second half, at least he got a few more crosses in, and there were some good quality crosses there, but unfortunately, as you say, the penalty box was vacated by Tottenham players more often than not, and you need someone to get on the end of these crosses, and there wasn't the players there, but still very disappointing.
Let's move on to Yves Bissouma. Sim gives him a 3, I gave him a 4. And yeah, not a good display, unfortunately. Didn't get his early yellow card, which I was calling him for him to do, but there were a few nice touches in there where he, got it past a couple of Man United players. But all in all, I think every time he got the ball, the majority of times he got the ball, it either bounced off him, heavy touches, or just a very safe pass, which didn't really lead to much. So I want to see Bissouma take a bit more authority on the game and imprint his mark on it a bit more. But I feel he's playing a bit within himself, and also it was just a terrible performance in terms of how much control he had on the ball. It just kept bouncing off him.
Yeah, I just thought defensively he wasn't his authoritative self, where he's getting around the pitch and bullying people and getting close to people. I don't remember too many times he was able to do that effectively in the centre of the park. So maybe that's something he still hasn't managed to figure out. Well, maybe it was just Bruno pulling him apart, but he definitely wasn't able to get close to him that much. On the ball, I thought he was so risk averse that he wasn't able to play a single pass forward, which was really disappointing. And I feel like he needs to carry the ball forward more when he's on the ball. He showed there was one moment where it was a pass short to him, I think from Dier, and the ball rolls under his foot. It looks like he's about to lose it. But then he outmuscles the player coming to win the ball and is able to carry the ball forward. And it's like, okay, you've just shown you're able to physically dominate against these players, so why not show a bit more often? And he just wasn't, only when he really needed to. So I definitely want to see more on Bissouma on the ball when in the Tottenham shirt, because he has the quality, but he just for some reason he's not able to show it right now in a Tottenham shirt, that real good quality on the ball on a consistent basis. But defensively, usually when he's strong, I thought as well he was lacking. So I was really disappointed with Bissouma in this game.
Yeah, let's move on to Rodrigo Bentancur. Falls all round from us. started the game really well, contributing to the attack, getting really good in really good positions going forward, and you thought it was going to be a really strong game from Bentancur yet again, but unfortunately it wasn't, and you saw Conte getting visibly angry with Bentancur. They were having a bit of a shouting match at one stage in the first half, Conte and Bentancur, but like every time the ball came into Bentancur in the middle, he would try like this one-touch passing without knowing where the other players were, and it would go in between players, nowhere near the players. Passing was completely off, and his defensive game as well. Players were just breezing past him at times, and it was frustrating to see, to be honest.
Yeah, too many blind passes, and that's becoming a bit of a theme with Bentancur sometimes, where he just has a bit of a lack of care. But as you say, I think he had a shot near the beginning of the game from the right-hand side of the penalty area, which flashed just wide. It looked like he was getting a lot more involved in the attacking phase of play, but unfortunately, he wasn't. He didn't have the quality at the end of the day to really make a difference. And then, when you're not making a difference on the other end, it puts a lot of pressure on us to defend well. And unfortunately, I feel like the two centre mids of the three, they were tasked with marking the fullbacks when they were coming forward, and it was leaving too much space in the centre. And Bentancur was tracking Shaw, Højbjerg was tracking Dalot. That was making pockets of space in the centre, which United exploited. And I think as the game went on, Bentancur was getting less effective, unfortunately, but I felt like he was probably the best of the midfield three.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Moving on to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, threes all round from us. A long time. Well, it's probably the lowest ranking we've ever given Højbjerg, especially with the run he's been on recently, giving him 8s and 9s week in, week out. He's been unbelievable, but this game was terrible from him. It really was. He looked so tired, so jaded. Every time the ball came into him, he would fumble it, give the ball away, lose it in a really bad way. Couldn't assert his aggressiveness on the game as well. I mean, I can't remember anything Højbjerg did in a positive manner in this game, to be honest.
Yeah, disappointed with him. I thought he was sloppy. Sometimes he has these games where he's just very sloppy and he has a lack of care of his passing. And more often than not, it happens in games where he's getting pressed very intensely, and that's exactly what happened in this one. I thought Casemiro and Fred had the better of him massively. They were the ones able to have the quality on the ball to shield themselves and keep possession away from the other midfielders. Højbjerg just didn't have it when he was asked to play a quick pass with quality, ended up being overhit or going out of play way too often, and it was just one of those games where Højbjerg was struggling and was not his best, and I was very disappointed as well. Like Bentancur, he was asked to track the fullback of Man United, and it led to situations where he was getting overrun, and it led to a very poor display.
Moving on to Heung-min Son, threes all round from us, and a very anonymous display from Sonny yesterday, which isn't the biggest fault of his own, because I think everyone behind him wasn't doing well enough to progress the ball up the pitch and find him in the good spaces. But ultimately, he didn't do anything in the game, so you got to give him a 3.
Yeah, he probably had 2 occasions to get a run on the Man United backline, and on those 2 occasions, the pass from Kane was a bit off, and Man United were able to get the ball back, and then all of a sudden, those occasions very rarely came, that we were able to manoeuvre the play to put in a situation where Kane or anyone could play a through ball to Sonny. He just wasn't involved. I think he had 1 shot throughout the game, which was from 25 yards, went well wide. Other than that, I remember one time in the second half, he was in the penalty box, nearly engineered a shot for himself, wasn't able to do so. There was one time where Perisich put in a really good cross and someone was about to get on the end of it without a last second interception with a header from Varane, just nicking it away from him, so that could have been a goal. But not enough involvement from Sonny in general play, and then was frankly anonymous for a lot of it.
Yeah, and I felt like Varane and Martinez shackled him so well. They didn't give him and Kane a moment's rest, and they did a number on them, to be honest. And I actually did felt like, especially in the first half, Sonny was making a few good runs, and he could have been found in behind, but he just wasn't found. But ultimately, it was a very poor display. But moving on to the final player in the 11 was Harry Kane. 4s all round from us, and in the first half, he was actually spraying it really nicely to Perisich and to Doherty in the wide areas with some really nice passing. But ultimately, I thought, like, for the majority of the game, any time the ball got to him, he was trying to do it on his own, trying to hold the ball up. and ultimately no one was around him to help him, so he was fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, I felt like when he was at the start of the game and he was fresh and he seemed like he was up for the game, he was winning quite a few duels and he was getting ahead of Martinez and, as you say, spraying the ball out wide to the wing backs, and it was causing a lot of attacking situations, a few problems for Man United. But as the game wore on, maybe as he got tired, Martinez was starting to physically dominate him and he was really struggling to get on the ball and keep it away from him and shield Martinez. And I'm not sure whether it was a fatigue issue, but definitely as the game wore on, it got worse. To be fair to Kane, he had the chances for Tottenham. First half, he forced a save out of De Gea. Second half, he had that shot at the edge of the area which flashed just wide, and he had another shot at the back post which De Gea was able to save. Maybe he should have done better with. So on another day, he could have at least had a goal, but he was well shackled by the back two in general, and he did struggle. So that's why we gave him a 4.
Yeah, massive credit to Lisandro Martinez, how he did shackle Harry Kane, because it was a really good job he did on him, and probably the best job anyone's done on Kane this season, to be honest. But let's move on to the manager. Antonio Conte, 4s all round from us. He went with the 3-5-2 system that everyone was calling for yesterday, and it just wasn't working. You saw the first 10 minutes, we started with a bit of intent and you thought, all right, today's going to be a good day, we're going to perform. But I think the game management was poor from Conte yesterday, and everyone could see it wasn't working, and you expect a few changes early on. He says, he doesn't have anyone on the bench to really change the game, but I think if you go 3-4-3 and stick Moura there, you may as well give it a go, because we're fighting a losing battle anyway, and we were getting completely dominated in every area of the pitch. So at least try something to change the course of the game, and he didn't do that until it was way too late. So you've got to mark him down for that.
Yeah, I think the formation everyone was calling for, I don't think that was massively the issue why we lost, but I do think there were some elements where he has to take responsibility why we were so toothless when trying to attack Man United, when they were penned back a bit and we did have a bit of possession, we weren't able to really create, and why Man United were getting so many opportunities in central areas where we have 3 midfielders there to clog up space and make it congested. That has to be looked at for sure. His substitutions, that'll be frustrating for fans, albeit he didn't have the best options on the bench in this game to really change it. But for sure, when things are going so badly, you would have want to change it a lot earlier than 10 minutes to go when the game was pretty much over. So disappointing with that. But I do think the players a lot of the players, their individual performances let him down a lot. So I'm not going to completely give him all the responsibility, but definitely things he has to look at and improve, and hopefully we can learn from this defeat.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is your player ratings from the 2-0 defeat at Old Trafford last night. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of our ratings, and put your ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.